Thanks for being here again. I appreciate it, and I always learn a few things, and hopefully you do as well. I'll just start out by saying, there was a new order that was put into effect on November 5th. It goes toward the end of the month. Dan DeGroot from Stoughton Health is nice enough to be here again today. If you have any health-related questions, Dan can probably answer them better than I can. When Dane County put out the latest order, it was under the idea that this would be the last order. We'll see whether or not that's the case. But I was on the phone call when they announced the order this time, and they did say that they had anticipated this would be the end of it. So that doesn't mean that COVID's going to be gone or anything like that. That just means that they're not going to require the mask mandate anymore. But I think people are still going to have to be conscious and protect themselves as we move forward. I don't really know what to expect once we stop wearing masks. And for me, I think there's going to be times where I'm just going to wear it anyway, because I just feel it's safer for myself and for people that are around me, because I think what we're seeing is you never know when you're going to be exposed, and it could be, in a room, it could be outside, it could be anywhere, and it's just, I don't know, there doesn't seem to be that much rhyme or reason to me. I don't know, Dan, have you seen anything?
Yeah, we've seen, probably over the last 3 weeks, we've seen a reduction in the number of people testing positive and a reduction in the number of hospital admissions, which is the good news. Probably over the last 7 to 10 days, we've seen an upward blip now, which is happening in Michigan, Illinois, all of the states around us. Wisconsin's actually getting better, which is good. Dane County's highly vaccinated. The other, I think, positive indicator is, even though there's a lot more the infection rate's going up a little bit, the number of hospitalizations seems to be stable or decreasing a little bit. So people are trying to figure out why is that, but maybe with the vaccines, you have that, your immune system fired up, you don't get as sick. The number of people who have had COVID has a natural immunity, so the hope is we're kind of getting to that concept of herd immunity. So it's not, people aren't getting as sick when they do contract it. But that's where we're at. And again, yeah, it's a lot of people, well, not a lot. You can get this thing just about anywhere. It's just crazy. We have a lot of people who are infected but asymptomatic sometimes. We have a lot of kids that potentially bring this stuff home to parents. So it's just 65,000 people in Camp Randall. It's just something to think about in terms of your own personal protection, even if the mandate is rolled back, when to wear a mask, just to protect yourself.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting for us in a couple of ways. I think there's going to be a desire to go back to in-person meetings, or a hybrid meeting where we can have some people call in on Zoom or others be there in the same room. At the Opera House, you have to be fully vaccinated and wear a mask to go to a show now. When the mask order expires, there's still some of the entertainers that perform there have it right in their contracts where their audience has to wear a mask during the show, so it's going to probably create some confusion for people. So it'll be interesting to see what they do if they go show by show, or if they just say you got to continue to wear masks at the Opera House. And I don't know if that decision has been made yet. But we're monitoring this thing, and it seems like they purposely left the mandate in place until right after Thanksgiving, because they know that people will be coming together as families, and they want them to at least be conscious of it, even if they don't wear their mask. Nobody's out there really enforcing it, but at least let them understand that those are higher risk situations, and we just need to continue to protect ourselves. Just a few updates. City Council, Plan Commission, and Redevelopment Authority, things we've been working on. One thing, COVID has really affected the labor market, and you've probably heard that on the news. There's been people that have been leaving positions or changing career paths, and it's no different in the city. So one of the things that we're going to be doing is to set up a program where if somebody wants to go through the police academy, the city will basically sponsor it, and then the city gets reimbursed by the state for that. So basically, if we have somebody that is interested in becoming a police officer, they should really come talk to us, and then we can help them get through that program, and they won't have to foot the bill for it. And then that'll help us in the recruiting market. We have 2 police department openings right now, and we had about 20 applicants. And just a few years ago, when we would post a position like that, we'd have 150. And I know it's similar in the school district for teachers. You've probably seen the signs and the advertisements, they're looking for teachers. When I was on the school board, and that's probably been 10 years ago now, when I was on the school board, we'd get 300 to 400 people applying for one teacher position. And I'm not sure what it is now, but I'm sure it's not anything close to that. And I don't know what you're seeing at Stoughton Health.
Yeah, I think we typically run at about a 2% vacancy rate in our workforce. We've been running 12 to 14% vacancy rate, so it's very, very difficult. A lot of people are working a lot of long hours, and we've had a lot of people, some people have decided to retire early. The market's doing well, and they're at a point where they can, and they've had enough of it. We've seen other people just say, I've had enough of healthcare. I'm getting out of healthcare. 2 years of the pandemic, I'm getting so enough of it. And some of our folks, their personal lives are disrupted because of working schooling, or losing your daycare. And they say, I got to take a break, I got to take care of my family, we'll get back to you when it's time. So it's not one thing, it's a lot of different things that make it really, really difficult.
You require a 2-year or 4-year degree?
For a police officer?
Yeah.
They have to go through an academy, and it's a several-month process.
How about a real, going to MASC and...
Yeah, there's a couple different places that there's a couple different places they can go to for the police
Do you
academy.
require it?
Pardon me?
Do you require
Yeah,
that?
yeah, they really need to go through the program in order to be trained in all the different aspects of it. There's, especially now, I mean, being an officer, you have to know the laws, you have to know how to protect yourself, you have to have the sensitivity training, you have to be able to know the vehicle training. It's a pretty thorough program that they go through, so what I can do is maybe at a future meeting I can bring the chief here, and we can kind of pick his brain on how that works a little bit. He would probably know the details better than I would. But certainly, what we're seeing is less and less people are getting into law enforcement. The good news for Stoughton is we're an attractive place for police officers to work. And some of the applications we've been getting are from out of state, and some of them are from bigger cities where they have higher crime rates. And as Dan mentioned, people are just kind of had it with all that additional stress. So they're looking at smaller, safe communities like Stoughton to maybe continue their career instead of getting out of the business of being in law enforcement. So we're encouraged by that, but certainly the labor market is really changing right now, and we're trying to adapt with it. Other things that we've been working on is we had to go through the census information, and when you do that every 10 years, you have to do what we call redistricting. And that's basically setting up the maps to make sure that we have an equal number of voters in each area of the city. So we went through that process. We had a very short window to do that, like a 2 to 3 week window, because of the delay at the federal level that trickled all the way down to us. And we were able to get that work completed and approved. And there was probably about 200 people that will have a different aldermanic district. But it didn't really change anything as far as our county or our state or federal officials. Just maybe a couple hundred people will have to vote for one alder district instead of another. And those people will be contacted by the clerk's office. And I plan on having a clerk here at a future meeting as well. She's in the process of training our new deputy clerk on all the election laws, and then once they're at a point where she feels that, you know, they're ready, they're gonna go out and start meeting people in the community and get ready for next year's elections. One of the things the city council also did is we sent a resolution to the Capitol and to our state legislators about the state of Wisconsin maps, because there's a lot of controversy right now as far as how they were redone the last time, and everything ended up in court, and probably will again this time. You know, they have a proposal. We'll see whether or not the governor signs it. If he doesn't, it may end up in court. And there's been a lot of, you know, accusations of gerrymandering and trying to really doctor the maps to favor one particular party over another. So basically what the city council went on record as saying is we just want a fair process, you know, and let the cards fall where they may. And we'll see what happens with that one. A few other things that city council's been working on is development out on Highway 51 out on Eggleston's Woods, and then on the other side of Stoughton Lumber. So that continues to move forward with Bob Dvorak and his team. And we're basically working on a couple of different agreements with Bob, and then another one with the apartment builder. So that'll probably continue into next year, and I know they're hoping to get started next year. The one developer is actually applying for some WIDA grants in December. And what WIDA does is WIDA provides tax incentives for developers to provide housing for people that are Section 42, which is, we call it workforce housing. And Section 42 is basically helps us subsidize the rent. So the rent is less, the developer makes up the rent and the tax incentives that they're given by WIDA, and everybody wins. And the advantage of the workforce housing is to help provide people an opportunity to live in a nice, stable building, and then it provides employees for the workforce. And we're seeing we have a shortage in not only the city and Stoughton Health, but a lot of the retail and Stoughton Trailers and businesses like that. So as the community grows, we're going to need to have more people to fill the jobs. And workforce housing is one option to do that. And what we're trying to do is have a nice mix of what we call market rate, which is regular either housing or apartments, mixed in with the workforce, so we can have a balanced workforce overall. Because not everybody's going to be a CEO for the company, and not everybody's going to be, you know, a part-time person at a retail establishment. We want to have people coming to Stoughton with their families that can fill all those jobs. The other thing we've been working on is some stuff out at Kettle Park West. I put down a specific implementation plan, or what we call an SIP, and as I go through the pictures I can kind of show you that. But that's really for the building that's going to have the paint store and the sub shop, and it's being built right now on the driveway just beyond the entrance to Walmart on Jackson Street, across the street from Kettle Park Senior Living. We did adopt the budget on Tuesday night, and as part of the budget process, there's a couple different things. We have our operations budget, which is our day-to-day, which is mostly our people. And then we have our CIP budget, which is the capital improvement projects. Those are the large ticket items that we generally borrow for. So like our vehicles, our buildings, our roads, our parks, those large projects, that comes out of our capital budget. And that money is usually financed either 10 or 20 years, depending on the project. And then we also have a special charge for garbage and recycling, and of course, like everything else, that went up. The garbage and recycling went up about 6%, which will be about $10 under your annual bill for recycle pickup. The other thing we worked on is the general development plan for Brink out on the Riverfront. and that went through the redevelopment authority and the city council. So the general development plan is kind of the overall concept of what he's gonna do down there. And then once that approved, then they work on that specific implementation plan, or the SIP, and that really gets down to the fine details and the nuts and bolts of exactly the size and shapes and amenities in these buildings. So things are moving forward, and we expect Kurt Brink and his team to start building down by the river in the spring. A couple other things we did is we finished up on the lead service lines, and that obviously was a huge initiative. The DNR, we were awarded a grant to pay for the homeowner side of it, and then there were 9 businesses that had lead service pipes that the city used some of the federal money we received to pay for theirs. So we're now 100% lead free. We still are in the process of doing restoration, which means there's still some cement work that's being done. Some of the yards are still tore up, and they're still trying to get after it as much as they can while the weather holds up. So we'll see if they get it done by the end of the year or not. Otherwise, you know, they'll finish up in the spring. But obviously, that was a huge initiative, and we actually were given an award from the state of Wisconsin for getting it done. So we're really pleased about that. This one here I put up, I ran across it the other day, for people that are going to be voting. You can get an ID for free. If you don't have a driver's license, that doesn't mean you can't vote. You just need to have a photo ID. And you can get those at the DMV office. So I just wanted to remind people as we get closer to next year, there's 4 elections next year, and that if you're in a position where you don't have a voter ID, they're really not that difficult to get, and they're free. A couple meetings ago, Sue Eddy was here, and we were talking about stormwater stuff, and she started a program called Adopt a Storm Drain, and it sounds like it's being pretty successful. She told me yesterday that 7 groups had already signed up for it, and others will. And we really just want to help keep everything clean and the leaves out of these storm drains in the neighborhoods. And there's kits available, so if you or somebody in your neighborhood wants to sign up for a program, you can call down to City Hall and talk to Sue Eddy, and she can set you up with a kit full of materials that you need in order to participate in the program. But we're getting a really good response for that. We're trying to keep the phosphorus, you know, from getting into our river. This one here is a little bit hard to see. There was a meeting last night at the fire station, and then there's another one next Thursday night in McFarland for the DOT project that's going to be running from Stoughton all the way to McFarland. And we've been working very closely with the DOT on this project. And what they're going to be doing is adding, you know, roundabouts and turn lanes and safety items from here all the way to McFarland. And we feel like we're making really good progress to reduce the speed out from basically Roby Road out toward Highway B. The city council approved a resolution that our planning director wrote up to reduce that speed down to 35 miles an hour. We've been having all sorts of issues out on Highway B in Rutland, Dunn, Town Line Road, and we're trying to get the speed limit dropped hopefully before this project, hopefully next summer when they do the 3 roundabouts. But then long term, you know, they're in the design and engineering phase of putting this corridor project together. So we've tried to give them information of what our vision of the road will be short and long term, and try to incorporate those ideas into their design as they move forward on that project. This is a picture from our medication disposable sharps collection event. And Stoughton has always been a really successful spot for this. We have a group of volunteers through the Wellness Coalition that sponsor this at the fire station, and then we have a drop box at the police department. And you can see that, you know, in the state of Wisconsin, it really was #1 in the country as far as collecting unused medication and sharps, which is, I mean, to me, it's unfortunate there's that much stuff out there. I mean, it's pretty obvious, even with some procedures I had done, I felt like I was overprescribed. There was stuff that I received that I just didn't use, and it's a waste of money, and worse yet, it's dangerous to have these drugs laying around. So these pickup spots, you know, and drop-off days are a really important way to dispose of this stuff. And it's just a good idea to periodically go through your cupboards and clean them out, and you can drop off any of the medication anytime at the police department. There's a couple, they look like mailboxes out in front of there, but this is a group of volunteers that put this on, and you know, we had, you know, over 1,000 pounds worth of stuff that was dropped off. Couple local businesses that are going to be opening up. Zobar is going to be a new art studio that I think they might even be open by now. This picture I took a couple weeks ago when I was walking up and down Main Street. So we're really excited. This is next to Tailgaters where the pawn shop was. So that one is open up now. The new Pizza Hut building is open up. We had a ribbon cutting there last week. So they have a drive-through there, and you can still dine in there. It's just the dining room isn't as big as it was in the other building. Sounds like the old Pizza Hut building. I think they're going to probably try to sell it. So we'll see. We're hoping that, you know, somebody will move in there. We don't like to see empty buildings. This is the old Montage building, and this is called Ashley's LLC, and she just opened up the weekend of the trick-or-treating. I stopped in there and talked to her, and she's doing some really cool things there. She has some clothing in there that is she's going to donate to some of the causes that are around town, but she's going to have some different types of products in there, some scented things and some wines and just some really interesting gift ideas that'll be in that building. So we're excited to see not only the business being there, but a lot of the work that she did inside of that building. It looks really great in there right now. And that's the one kind of across from the coffee cup by the little parking lot there. And then this building here, which is across the street, which was Fired Up Nutrition, they moved out in the plaza out there. This building here received approval the other night for somebody to put a little pizzeria, Italian restaurant in there. I believe it's going to be carry out and delivery. So that'll be a nice use of that space downtown. And we're finding that there's very few buildings that are available downtown right now. A lot of them have been sold or rented out, and quite a bit of exterior and interior work. So we're really excited about the amount of investment that's occurring in our downtown, especially coming out of the pandemic. If you drive through other cities or other towns, you don't always see that much activity as we're seeing right now in Stoughton. So we're really excited about that. This is a photography studio that moved kind of down below the brew pub. So that was a recent one. They had been down on Main Street in an upper unit, so I think they needed some more space. And then these are some apartments that are being proposed out by Walmart, just past where they're putting up the 3-unit commercial building. There's another lot there that they basically combined, and what they're looking at doing is putting some apartments out there. So that's going through the approval process right now. And that's really all I had as far as new things that are going on. The Starbucks is almost open. If you drive by there, it looks like they're just finishing up. And at this point, if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Anything on your mind today? know some of you I talked about a little bit before. Oh, there's one way in the back.
You mentioned Starbucks will open soon. What about the coffee shop slash bakery by the wellness building?
I have not had any contact with them. I know I stopped out there a couple times to visit, and I haven't seen anyone working there. So I'm not really sure what the status is, but yeah, we would like to see that open.
Yeah.
Anybody else have any questions about anything?
Yeah, I see in the Tower Times little magazine here, Stoughton Trailer Plant 6. Where is, in the North Industrial Park, where is that located?
That would be, you go downtown, kind of past the VFW, out by Racetrack Park.
Yeah.
It's that big plant that's out there.
Oh.
There's Stoughton Trailers, there's Stoughton Parts, there's Stoughton Trucking, and then our Public Works garage is out there.
Mhm.
And then right between Stoughton Trailers and our Public Works garage, if you look back there, that's where they're putting up the new Zinc Power building. And that's a 110,000 square foot building. So that's another major employer that's gonna be looking for help here soon. We're hoping that'll be done in the fall, or by winter, I should say. And the Stoughton Trailers have done quite a bit of work around their site as well. They put up some new fencing, they redid their parking lot, moved a lot of their trailers, and really looks nice out there right now. And they're looking to hire quite a few people as well. Did you have a specific question about Stoughton Trailers itself, or?
No, and
Yeah.
I'm not looking for a job either. But I have something else that I don't know if this is the proper time to bring it up or not, but I see we're gonna be able to get alcohol at the Opera House.
Yeah, so the Opera House received a couple grants through different COVID programs. There was a Shutter Venues grant, and then there was one that was called the CARES grant. And then what they did is where the old city offices were, so there was my office and the finance department, they redid those rooms there. So if you haven't been up there, they're really nice. And it's kind of a lounge area, and they're selling beer and wine and cider. So they're not selling any hard alcohol, just something to sip on maybe before the show or during the intermission. They're not open, the lounge is not open after the show at all.
I don't know. I really don't think much of the idea of serving liquor at all in a place like that. The seats for the shows are expensive, and I hate to be interrupted by the guy sitting in the middle there coming one side or the other to go to the bathroom, and then of course he's coming back, and liquor makes your voice a little bit louder. It's gonna, I don't know if I wanna go.
Well, what they've tried to do to minimize the disruption is, like I said, they're open before the show and they're open during intermission. So they've tried to set it up in a way where people are they're not coming there really to get drunk. They're just coming there to hang out, maybe meet some friends there before the show, tell a few stories, and then
You can't
the
do that
alcohol
without a can of beer in your hand? You can't socialize?
Well, some people will, and
Right.
other people prefer to, that's part of their socializing. But you cannot take the alcohol up into the concert venue. So they've made sure that that's one less disruption. And then, like I said, they have intermission. So then if somebody needs to go to the restroom or somebody wants to go down and have a drink before the show starts up, the intermissions are usually 15 to 20 minutes to give everyone an opportunity to go down and do what they want to do and then go back up into their seat. Some people will just watch the show from the lounge because they also have live streaming in there. So if they don't want to be disruptive or just be up there where there's a lot of people, they can sit in the lounge and watch a show as well. And I've been to a few shows and I haven't really seen any issues with it, and the people I've talked to have been really pleased with what they've seen there, because, you know, people that have been going there are responsible people. We haven't really had any issues that I'm aware of, but it's certainly something that, you know, we talked about and we'll be monitoring, and if it gets out of hand, you know, we'll put things in place to make sure it doesn't affect everybody. But the people that are going there have been very cooperative about having their vaccine cards with them and wearing the mask during the show. And that's another thing that we were concerned about, is that people would be upset if they couldn't go to the show without a mask. But actually, people are really been good about it, and some people have commented that, you know, I won't go to another venue because I don't feel safe there. I know I can come to the Stoughton Opera House and have a safe, positive experience, and that's really what we've had at this point. So, but definitely hear your concerns. Are there any other questions?
Well, yeah. You talked about lowering the speed limit. Who's going to enforce that? Nobody enforces what we've got now.
Well,
You can drive up and down Main from here out past Walmart. That is a damn racetrack.
Yeah, definitely, you know, speed is a concern, and, you know, we only have so many officers, like I say, and, you know, other communities are having the same challenges. We do, you know, some traffic enforcement, but then people complain if they get a ticket.
Well,
You know,
that's too bad.
we do
What's
monitor
your
things in other ways as well. We put down some strips and stuff that will calculate how many people are going to speed limit and how many are going over. And really what we find is most of the people are actually following the speed limit, but you always have a couple people that just go fast. And, you know, for an officer, you really just matter being at the right place at the right time to catch them, and that's not easy to do. You know, people aren't gonna do that if they know an officer is sitting there. So we did order a new Speedboard, but because of the shortage in supplies, you know, this thing has been delayed. We should have had it probably 2 months ago, and now we're still looking at another 3 to 4 weeks at the earliest because of the supply chain issues and the
That
technology.
doesn't really know any tickets, so.
No, they don't, but when we put the speed boards out, it really, what it does is it not only shows people how fast they're going, but it collects the data, so then if the data on that particular stretch is, you know, enormously high, then we know to put a patrol officer there. So that's the other thing that has really been challenging for us is we don't have all the tools available, because the other board basically, when it broke, we couldn't get parts for it, so that when we ordered a new one, it hasn't come in yet. And we actually ordered it using money from our reserve account. We didn't want to wait until next year to order it, you know, and it's still on back order. So definitely I get calls and emails every week about speed control. And what I do is I pass them on to the police chief, and then he'll do a couple different things to try to, you know, help monitor the situation. But you know how it is. You put an officer there, everybody's fine. Now they're speeding over here. You're chasing your tail. And, you know, we've been trying to do things, at least on the main streets, for pedestrian safety, putting the lights up. Not everybody follows that as well, but at least for the most part, it's an aware if the lights are flashing, you know, people should slow down, and the people that are crossing the road should not assume that the cars are gonna slow down. So we've been trying to do that, and then the other things we've been doing during the reconstruction, you've probably seen this, is we've been putting a lot of these medians in where it narrows the street, and that's one of the ways that the DOT is designing the stretch out on 51 is to try to narrow the road, because that naturally makes people slow down. So there's some things in the engineering that we're trying to do as well to address your concern, but that's gonna be probably a forever concern. because for whatever reason, people, you know, are always in a hurry to get somewhere. But definitely a challenge. Yes, sir.
Have they still got the roundabout on 130 and 51?
Yeah, so the 3 roundabouts will be done next year.
They're gonna go overhead, they're gonna build,
What's that?
they're gonna go build ramps.
They're just building roundabouts, so
I
there's
know.
still. Yeah.
It's wrong. It's fine right now. Isn't it?
Well, the intersection at Hole and Silverado is actually probably, that one's pretty bad right now because there's nothing there.
Where?
Hole and Silverado. Hole is by Cummins and the SWAC there.
So
I'm
the
just
drainage
talking that
unit
one
is in there.
right at the bottom, where 51 and 138 come.
Where the lights are?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lights on
Yeah,
telephone poles.
I thought the lights worked fine as well, but that was always a short-term solution for the DOT.
Well, I know it is, but it works.
They like their roundabouts.
It works. Well,
It does work.
Uh,
It does work.
yeah,
I'm not disagreeing with you, but it's a state highway and we only have so much influence. I think it's getting, our influence is getting better now. They have a new team for this region because they received enough feedback from us that maybe we weren't as happy as we could be, not only Stoughton, but McFarland as well.
another place they need one.
Pardon me?
Another place where they need a roundabout is on 138 and Lake Eganza Road. Right there. The traffic going by my house,
Yeah.
might well be 4-lane.
I believe in the long-term plan, they have one planned, but I thought it was maybe at Star School.
It's on 51.
Yeah, but I think they have one on their radar long-term, but I think it's at Star School in
No,
138.
That's wrong.
But that one hasn't been programmed yet, which means they haven't funded it or done any
The
studies.
traffic is on. They should go and sit on Lake Eganza Road in 138.
Well, I'll tell them that.
It's, I mean, I see stuff going by my house like I've never seen before.
Sure.
I don't know what's going on, but they're building south of us big time.
The other one that's really bad is the one at Roby, you know, up by the lumber yard and the Quick Trip. So that's the third one they're gonna do, because right now, if they were to.
Oh, that, yeah.
If they were to do that road now, they would never allow that kind of intersection, and I'm not really sure why they did that. But, you know, we've been fighting them for years, and originally that was part of this corridor project. And we complained enough where they moved it up, and they're gonna do it next summer with the other two.
Yeah.
And the corridor project, I believe in 2026, is when they're planning on doing one at Highway B and then one at Highway AB as part of the corridor project. And that's when they were gonna do Roby, and we're just like, we can't wait that long. And they finally agreed to make that happen, but it wasn't, we had to verbally abuse a lot of people to get them to move that date up.
Well, the worst one is the one B and AB,
Yeah,
that with the hill.
yeah, they're gonna have to cut the
Two
hill
hills.
down. That's gonna be interesting to see how they cut that hill down, because
I
that's,
told them you should just have a signal for 51. Otherwise, they're gonna have all the traffic on 14.
yeah, and there's gonna probably be a detour there when they cut that hill down. So that's gonna be a major
Which
inconvenience.
one?
Most of the
one
rest
going
of the
this way or
work,
the one going out.
yeah.
They come down like that. And then the lake is over here.
Well, I would encourage you, if you're in a position to go, next Thursday night is the second meeting in McFarland from 4 to 6 o'clock. And you can go there, and they're gonna talk about Stoughton and McFarland. And you can go there and see all the maps and talk to all the people.
I've
and-
talked to the guy, the main guy,
Which,
the guy that the head engineer
yeah,
project.
yeah, they probably had about 6 or 8 people there last night down at the fire station. So
I
there's,
know that. But that's a real problem. They should just leave this one alone and put permanent
Yeah, at this point,
Uh-huh.
they've already made their decision and we can't reverse it. You know, once they decide something and they have it engineered and programmed, what we're trying to do is work with them on how to make the roundabouts safer for bicyclists and pedestrians across. So they're actually looking at some designs that they've done in Florida to see if we can incorporate that design in Stoughton.
Yeah.
And if they do, it'll be the first ones basically in the state of Wisconsin that have those kind of sidewalk crossings in the roundabouts. So we're trying to see if it'll work engineering wise, so you can stay tuned on that one.
That's bad. Bad. That whole corner down here.
Well, we anticipate with the growth that there's gonna be more traffic, and the DOT's approach is, they wanna keep traffic moving, they don't wanna stop it. And the roundabouts keep it moving better than stoplights. And then when people stop at lights, sometimes they blow through them, or when they turn green, they floor it.
The problem is at 7 o'clock and 4 o'clock, right?
Oh, sure.
When people are going into Madison or to Verona or wherever. And then when they come back home, it's the same problem. They're gonna be, once the stream gets going, this one will back up. And finally, they'll get it out in, and then they'll go, and the stream will build back up while the cars are going. It just doesn't work. It's only those 2 times. That's where the problem is.
Yeah.
During the day, yeah, it's pretty good. People, But other than that, forget it. You should just put it permanent like they are now, because the signals are working fine. The signal says, oh, here comes 20 people. Well, we'll let those cars go, and these cars can go, because these guys are turning, and these guys are going straight ahead. But a roundabout, you're on your own.
Yeah, I would say probably the biggest decision that they're looking for input on right now is as we grow out to the west, by Eggleston's Woods and Stoughton
It's
Lumber,
gonna get worse.
where Rutland Dunn is. The DOT is trying to decide if they should put a signal there or a roundabout there. So if you have an opinion on that, you can talk to the DOT, you can go on their website too and fill out a form, because that's really the one decision that they're looking for input on. They haven't
This
made
one
a
here?
decision. Rutland Dunn and 51. And 51.
51.
Yeah, go past
The one that
Stoughton
comes
Lumber.
down the hill.
Yeah, and
The woman
then
got
with the
killed.
development,
She
we're
brought
planning
that.
on extending Rutland Dunn on the other side. It'll come over and it'll connect to Nygaard by Taco Bell.
Well, instead of coming down, why don't they go out and then they can ramp down, or ramp around, or ramp.
They don't
You
like
gotta
to put
put
in
a
ramps
ramp
because it's too
somewhere.
much money.
Huh?
They won't want to put in a ramp, it's too much money. That's the bottom line,
Sounds like Minnesota.
yeah. Well, we're hoping that now that the infrastructure has been, bill is, passed by the federal government, we're interested in learning more about how that money is going to become available. What we're hearing right now is more than likely it'll be administered by the state of Wisconsin. And we don't know in what form that's going to be, if it's going to be what we call a state transportation aid, which goes into our operating budget, or if we're going to have to write grants in order to do the work, or we don't know how it's going to work yet.
But you just can't have a ramp come down, or road come down. You're gonna have a circle on the bottom, what they're thinking.
They're thinking either having a roundabout or a stoplight there, a four-way
stoplight,
signal,
yeah.
yeah. But whatever they do,
That's
we
what I-
want to slow down the traffic there.
That's what I keep telling them on the 51.
Yeah,
They should use lights, kind of like when you're going on the belt line. It tells you, yeah, it's wide open, it's gonna be a green light.
yeah.
Or if it's flashing, then you may have to go through the signal. Because now we got too much traffic coming this way and we're trying to get on.
Yeah. Well, encourage you to keep talking to the DOT. It's their project,
Well,
they're looking for feedback.
I got a file this thick.
Well, don't stop now.
Yeah. I worked on 35 in Minnesota.
Oh, okay.
Uh,
Are there any other questions today?
When is the last leaf pickup, do you know? Offhand?
It's
November 24th.
Yep, November 24th. So we have,
Because they're kind of late coming down
They are.
until the last couple days, but
yeah, today will probably help, you know, with the rain, but yeah, a couple weeks from now. And then if, you know, they'll take a look at it and see where we're at, you know, as far as.
yeah, mine are usually done by now, but I still have a lot of them up there, so I just,
Yeah, sometimes the maples fall late. My neighbor's got one that, I know I'll be raking that up here in a couple weeks yet, so we'll see when they drop. And then after that, you know, we'll be plowing snow. But it seems like we're all ready for that. Anything else today?
My neighbor's got one over there.
no.
All right, well, I guess, you know, once again, thanks for joining me again today. We'll be out here, again in December, and then we'll have Dan and the superintendent will be out here first quarter of next year. And thanks for Holly for helping to keep me organized here, and Spencer for recording this today. And then, you know, feel free to contact me in between these meetings as well. If something comes up, you don't have to wait. You know where to find me. All right, thanks again.
Yeah, thanks.
Good, have a good day.